welcome to today's webinar, a live demo of C Electrical 3D panel and CAD software. Thank you for joining. We are about to start, but before, we would like to cover a few housekeeping items. We'll be running a live Q&A during the presentation. If you have any questions during the webinar, please click on the Q&A panel at the bottom right to enable this feature, or the three-dot icon on the slide area to submit your question. We will try to answer these during the webinar, but if a fuller answer is needed or we run out of time, this will be answered later via email. We do capture all questions. I would now like to turn this conference over to Lou. Thank you. You may begin.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining our next version of the Modicon User Group. I need that share button, Emmy. There we go. Okay. So again, thank you very much. We're going to talk about C Electrical, and I have to tell you, Brian showed me this. Brian and Andy showed me this software about a year ago, and I was absolutely blown away. First, I had no idea that Schneider Electric even had this software in their portfolio, and then I was blown away by the ease and the capabilities of the software. And I think you will be too today once you see it. I was part of the integration world, and developing PLC drawings, cabinet drawings was difficult. When we did it in AutoCAD, it was kind of difficult to move all the objects in and create this stuff, time consuming. And when you see what this software can do, in all the aspects that it can do around control engineering and creating bombs and other drawing wire lengths and all that stuff, you'll be pretty amazed. So with us today is Brian Clark. He handles the commercial side of C software, and also Andrew Richard. He's going to do the bulk of our presentation today, and we'll focus on working live in the software. We're going to actually show you exactly how to configure a panel and all the things that it can do. And again, I think you'll be blown away by it. A couple of things, as usual, these are the things we focus on our MUG meetings. This one here is going to focus really on everything. That's the PLC, SCADA, networking. It's going to cover everything when you talk about the CAD stuff. Modicon User Group, I've mentioned this previously. We have a YouTube channel that houses a bunch of videos that I think are helpful for you if you use our Modicon PLCs all the time. This can kind of help you out on doing some tasks. So I'll put that in the chat, that link in the chat, and you can bookmark it at some point and come back and look at it. Connect with me via LinkedIn. I don't post anything else other than just automation related stuff, usually PLC, factory floor automation. That's all I post. And by the way, the video for these will be the invitation for these, and the videos get posted to my YouTube account at some point. So when new things get posted, you can go and take a look at it. So please reach out to me and connect via LinkedIn. The second half of our year is going to be pretty robust. These are kind of topics we're going to talk about. They could be the major topics, or they could be a minor topic in some of our stuff. I think you're going to be really happy with the agenda that we have for the second half of the year. Drives, we're going to talk about some VFD drives in the fall. Some IP forwarding and transparency all around networking. What's new in ECE or Control Expert version 15.3? There's a bunch of new stuff that was added. PLC password management, a huge topic when we comes to cybersecurity, and it's about to change radically in what you can do with the PLCs and protect them. So another major topic that's coming up. Operator Terminal Expert, as probably know, Visio Designer is coming to an end of life for us. It's not gone yet, but it's coming to an end of life. Operator Terminal Expert is our next HMI software, and so we're going to do a little review of that and the cool things that you can do with that. And then we're going to touch on Aviva Pi. And as you know, Schneider Electric purchased. Aviva is a Schneider Electric company, 100% these days. We did our last webinar was actually on one of the Aviva products, and then later on this year we'll talk about Aviva Pi as a lot of end users are using that to do analytics around their software, their data in their plant. So with that, again, notes, Emmy had mentioned, direct your questions to the Q&A as opposed to the chat. The chat is, you know what a chat is. Q&A will kind of keep the questions and answers together. So please find that panel and put them there. If you want to know more after this, please contact me. Reach out to me via email, excuse me, or I'm going to put a survey towards the end. I'm going to put a survey in the chat link. If you can fill that out, I appreciate it. It really is a very quick question: is how do we do today? And then if you want to know more, you know, do you want to be contacted, and give us your contact information. Otherwise, if you just rate it, if you just give us a rating, it's anonymous, so I don't know who rated it. So you have to leave your name if you want us to call you back. With that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Brian to start us off.
Thank you, Lou. Just waiting for the presenter.
Go.
Okay, make sure. I'm sorry, do you see the screen correctly?
Yeah, yeah, I see the presenter's notes.
Oh, you do. Okay. Let me change that here. I'm assuming that is better.
You're good.
All right. Yes. Thank you so much. And, you know, thank you for inviting us to the Modicon User Group to present C Electrical. I'll be really quick and efficient here to allow the bulk of our time spent on the actual software presentation, but I feel it's important to speak a little bit about the background of the company and preview the agenda. First off, my name is Brian Clark, and I've worked for Schneider Electric 18 years now, and pretty much all of that time, 17 years spent in industrial automation and working with Modicon PLCs. And it was this last year that I transitioned into a business development role for a Schneider software company named ETAP. And ETAP has multiple software products for electrical engineering. And today we'll be focused on C Electrical for automation schematics, documentation, and panel design. So the Schneider Electric acquisition of C Electrical started in 2018 and finalized all share purchases somewhere in the middle of 2021. Schneider was evaluating a software to be its global standard at our engineered to order plants. And they chose C Electrical before the company was eventually acquired. The headquarters are in France, same as Schneider Electric, and there's a very large market presence of C Electrical throughout Europe. And although there's been an office in North America for over 25 years, it's only the last couple years where there's been rapid growth in the North American market. We've added business development personnel and top-notch engineering talent for local training and support in North America. The software is a global software, supports IEC and your IEEE or NFPA standards. And we have a unique functionality over the competition with automatic language translation. So one click of a button, you can provide your electrical schematics and documentation around the globe in any language. So just to preview the agenda, in just a little bit, Andrew Richard will go into the software and demonstrate really C Electrical is made up of three main parts: C Electrical, 3D Panel Plus, and Shop Floor. C Electrical is what's used to create the single and multi-line electrical schematics of an automation system. And as he goes through showing you that, he'll highlight some key efficiency features such as imports from PLCs, auto generation of your BOM and other reports, and even auto generation of your schematic pages. And as he demonstrates, you'll really notice and probably key on and see how intuitive and easy the software is to learn and use. 3D Panel Plus. So, many designers today, still provide, especially for their electrical cabinets, 2D layouts, and they design in 2D. Even though, mechanical is, mostly on 3D. However, we're seeing an electrical rapid growing trend in the transition into 3D for designs. With our 3D tool, you can actually create the design much quicker than if you're designing in 2D. It'll catch errors such as mechanical collisions, and it provides you automatic wire routing and wire length calculation. The other neat thing about 3D Panel Plus by C Electrical, it not only works or used in conjunction with C Electrical, but it is actually agnostic and can be used with some of our competitors' 2D schematic packages, AutoCAD Electrical, ePlan, and SolidWorks Electrical, to name a few. What you can also do is import your mechanical drawing from, SolidWorks, Inventor, Creo, as example, and design wire and cable routing throughout the mechanical system in our 3D Panel Plus. And lastly, when you're manufacturing electrical panels and machines, shop floor, our app shop floor is your answer for going paperless, and it addresses shortages of skilled labor. The visual aid and wiring instructions allows for assembly and wiring of a panel without even needing to read the schematics or transfer the schematics from engineering to the shop floor. There's no engineering to be done in shop floor. It's simply an export, or the application is generated directly from your 3D Panel Plus design. So that kind of that concludes the preview. I'm going to turn over to Andy now, and I will be monitoring the Q&A for questions. Okay, now I have to find. Sorry, Emmy, I'm not finding my toolbar. Okay, here we go.
Andy, you should now be presenting.
Mute, Andy. No. All right, we have a little technical difficulty. Second.
Hello?
There you go.
Hey, sorry about that. I think my internet network is not working well today. So let me share my screen and we can start. Okay, so this is C Electrical. C Electrical is a database-backed software CAD design program. what this does is essentially going to be your 2D schematics, single line diagrams. You can do 2D cabinet layouts. You'll be able to do building installation drawings. And all of it is backed with a database. So it allows you to easily manipulate components that have been placed, to manipulate how the wires are numbered, what your I/O is going to be for PLCs. Now,
Andy, I think we lost you. Sorry for the technical difficulties here. Let me correct this. Give me a second. Sorry, folks, we're trying to get over this technical difficulty. Seems like we lost him, lost his internet connection, which is always a problem with a webinar. So if you could just hold on for a couple of minutes, we'll see if we can get this corrected.
hello.
All right, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right, so could I get the share again for the presentation? There we go. Thank you. Okay, so So essentially, once you start making a project, you're going to start in your workspace template. And the workspace template can be product specific. So you could have an M340, you could have an M550 or 580, you could have 1769. You can start whatever you need here. We have IEC, IEEE, NFPA type templates, and you can do all of those styles of drawings. So with the workspace template I'm going to choose, I'm going to open up an NFPA style one. Which opens up my workspace information. So my workspace information, I can modify all of these inputs, but all of these attributes are essentially able to be called anywhere in my project. So if I put something into this document, so if I put in Modicon User Group, and I put in some information about who's designing it, who's drawing it, when it was approved by, any information there. And in here, I can put in a description. So again, all of these are modifiable. So if I click OK, that all is now in my background database. So when I create a cover sheet, I get that cover sheet with my project information ready to go, client, a document number, which I don't have one currently in here. So if I put one in and hit enter, it live updates everywhere. Now, each of these pages are going to be symbol types. So I can select the entire thing, but as long as it's a page template, I won't be able to select individual items just by clicking and dragging. So you're not at risk of moving things around, and you're just able to design basically what you need. To switch between templates, I can go to my page properties and go and find a different one. So if I have a different project cover sheet I want to use, so I'll grab this title block and open, and it'll switch it for me. And all of the data is still there, ready to go. Now, when we start looking at design of circuit schematics, we have automatic potential insertion. So I have a component properties, which gives me all of my signal reference properties. I can put description, I can put a function location on it. And then I can copy that over, or I can just keep going. If I have signal references on other pages, I can click on my database and actually select them and apply them. Now, with these, I can then add my 3 wires. I can go into my symbol library and go to my NFPA and grab a motor, place that motor. And then with each of these symbols, you're going to have component properties specific to them. So there are many different types. There's terminals, there's contacts, normally open, normally close, changeover. There's components with auxiliary contacts and a contact cross, or components with auxiliary contacts only. In these properties here, you have connection points, you have the equipment, you have a description of it. You can specify that it's only a target, or put it into the BOM, or remove it from the BOM. You can also apply description, as well as that function location from before. The product code numbering is automatic, and you can basically specify it however you need to. So in here, I have a component code based on the symbol. So it'll say MTR, and then I have it pulling in the row number. So it's 102. If it's sequential numbering you need, it's just a property in your circuit diagram page. Now, to insert something like a terminal, I can come down here. I can grab 3 square non-transparent terminals and place those. Now, with the grow and the scale version of the bundles, this will have automatic terminal numbering and sorting, and it will keep track of that for you. So if I place TB here with 1, 1, and I click OK, and I place another one down here, this one will automatically calculate its number 4, 4, because I have 1, 2, 3. If I needed to change this, I could say this is L1, and then I could go in and switch these around as well. In my database, I could just go into my editor for terminals, select this, select these, and actually modify it here. So instead of having, bear with me for 1 second, so in here, I can say terminal numbering. I want that to be L1 greater than 1, and then I'll have L1, L2, L3. So mass changes are quick and easy. For equipment, I can go into my database while these are all selected, I can type in terminal and get the terminals that are referenced. Now, a couple of points here. C is parts agnostic. So Rockwell, Eaton, Phoenix Contact, Schneider Electric, we have a web catalog that essentially has 640,000 parts that aren't obsolete parts that you have access to. We are working with Schneider, obviously, Rockwell to get all their parts in, Eaton, Omron, and so we have live updates of their web catalog for you to download. Okay. Now, with this open, I can double click on one of these terminal blocks and actually apply it. And then that goes to the page and will change and apply all of that information to here. So it added connection points, it kept my L1, terminal sorting, and the equipment number. Now, with this, I'll then want to add something like a cable. So we have automatic cable insertion. You can specify what your cables are going to look like based off of your symbol library. So I'll click a generic cable, click on top, click on bottom, and apply it. This is going to work the same way as the equipment. So I can actually toggle my goods group, go down to like cables metric, go into my specific one, and then double click, and it'll apply all of the properties for that to this. So I have my colors, I have my cable core numbering, and the size of the cable core. And that shows up on my page. And these can be customized. You can mass hide and mass show all of them. And you can move around information for the symbol without having to explode it. So if we want to move that down there, we can. If we do another cable, it will do a quick electrical check, and it'll tell you, well, this OL Flex Classic 104 only has 4 cores, and you're trying to apply 2, 3 again for cable 1. So to fix it, we just change it to the next one, and it automatically updates. So now I have 2 different cables. It checked to make sure that I'm not using the same cable cores multiple times. And that's essentially able to do that check for additional items as well. Now, from here, I want to generate a project. So we have a feature called auto generation. And what that is an Excel file that allows you to grab a Excel file like this with information about your symbols, with your title blocks, what you want to call the page. You can also apply specific part information. You can place it, or you can have the software automatically place it. And so when I go into my circuit diagrams, I'll right click here, auto generate diagrams. And from this drawing alone, I'm going to click OK. And it'll generate essentially a whole project ready to go. So a lot of customers that we see are using this from web configurators. They're using Excel to build a configurator so that their design team can start a project using the latest symbols, page templates, everything, rather than pulling an an old project and then trying to make that and modify that to work. So from the drawings that I had before, which I only have 1, I now have 6. I have an incoming power page. I have automatically labeled all of my parts. I have automatically put in my equipment codes. I have automatic page references. So 24-volt DC, I can go to page 500 and it brings it to me. I've populated my PLC. I've also populated my digital inputs and outputs. These digital inputs and outputs have descriptions on them. They have the connection points associated, and they have reference back to this. So with this, we also have the contact references automatically associating to relays. We have the ability to add and change. So if I needed another one of these, I can just take that and put it in and then rename it or put in different equipment information. So it doesn't lock anything down for you. It's ready to be modified and added on to. Now, from here, I have some wire numbering, but on my controls page, I don't have any. So in our wire properties for electrical, I can generate, unlocked, and overwrite existing numbers and click OK. And now all of these wires now have wire numbers. So in my database, I can go quickly check to make sure that these are populated. So I can see here that I have a number for each of them. I can also set up net numbering rather than wire numbering individually. So my net names are also there. You can do custom ones. So if you wanted L1-1, you would be able to do that coming from your incoming power. It's just a property within your signal type setup. So you can set up as many of these signal types as you want with custom naming, custom colors. You can apply equipment to it as a standard. You can also set line widths, line height, line styles. So if you have field wiring, you can just apply a signal type of field wiring and have it automatically dash dot and the correct coloring with the correct size and everything. Down here, I have activated the global net numbering, and I could activate the global wire numbering, and it'll just do all of the wires the same way. We can pull from the cells, we can pull from the page numbers, we can do just consecutive numbers, basically whatever you need and want it to look like. So in here, we have the ability to also look up specific components. So in my components library, I could search for an exact component. And like I said, we are parts agnostic. So we have ABB, we have all of those. So I can place this in and I can actually separate symbols and have them reference back and forth to each other. So this is referenced back to VFD 301. I click OK. And this again will navigate back and forth. Now, when I go to 3D, all of these connections work because in our background database, they've been set up. So in here, I have this with all of my channels defined. Now, if I wanted to download something new, I could go to see web catalog. I could type in a part information. I could search for drives. And so we have right now 408 drives in the North American web catalog. If we wanted to do any other searches, we can. But right now for North America specific ones, we have 64,000 parts. If we look at our international one, we have 640,000. Make that bigger. There we go. 642,000. So we've already updated from the last time I saw this of last week, 2,000 parts. So this is growing every day. Schneider Electric is growing, usually between 20 and 50 parts every single day. We offer part creation. So if you need parts to download with symbols and data, we offer that as a service. So you can send us that information. We'll create them, populate it into our web catalog, and then you'll have a download directly for that. So from here, we also can do graphical lists. So when I created my project, I generated these 3 graphical lists in here. So I have a BOM, terminal matrix ready to go. When I go to generate, I can also do all of the rest of them. Save that. And so every time I make a project now, it'll have all of those graphical lists created and then save it as a template. So generate those. If you have questions, so I want to know which starting page I want to start with. So I want to start at 1. And so I can click OK. And then in my graphical list, I now have a BOM with all of my parts. I have 12 devices in here that have not been provided with equipment. I could hide that, or I could show that so that I know that I need to go check that. And that's just part of the symbol and page template. I can also do a breakout of function location. So if I apply a function or location to some parts, so if I go into my motor 1, I select my motor, and I apply a function to it. So I'll say this is fields, click OK. Rerun my bill of material for the function location. I now have a field 1. Sorry, I think I've broken it out by location. So let me just fix that. So we're going to select field. There we go. Click OK and rerun. Now I get 2. So I could do multiple panels. I could print out specific bills of material for each of those panels automatically. For components list, I can do a components list per tag. So I'll specify the product, which is your tag, the type, meaning your product or part number, and then description, manufacturer, where it is in the project, all automatically again. From to lists will get calculated and processed. So in here, I have all my PLC terminals. I have where it's coming from, where it's going to, what is the product number. I can also display that as a terminal matrix automatically. With this, it'll show the cable core coloring or numbering, whichever one you want, on the side to show which cable core is going to which item. Wires by pair, so from to list for your wiring, automatically created again with your wire number, your potential, however you need this. For IO lists, it'll calculate and populate this with all of your IO, symbol addresses, descriptions. If you have network or IP addresses, you can populate that in here with the PLC as well. Now, from this, we have a couple of different features. I can import and export AutoCAD, DWG, and DXFs. I can also export to a workspace type DWG DXF, meaning all of the workspaces and all of the drawings that I've created will get exported into one folder. We can also export to a web version of it. We have an automatic BOM Excel export, detailed BOM export, and then we also have an export for labeling. So this label export will customize the export specifically for each of these types of printers. And these are also getting updated almost every day. And so we have a terminal strip Wago, but we also have the terminal marker export as well. So cables, equipment, wire, everything. If you need to create your own, we can do custom list and labels. We can also create reports specific to you. So this could be a proposal. This could be descriptions of specific parts that you want to pull in and show in an exact way. So this is a part list with calculation. So if you have all of your SECR data in here, you can calculate that as well. That can be created within this report generator. From here, I can export to PDF, to Excel, to all of these. I can also directly send to email through here using these same buttons. And so it's some features in here that we try to make as easy and efficient as possible for our users. So instead of having to navigate multiple menus to find how to renumber your wires, you just click numbers. If you needed to insert your potentials, there's a button up here. There's also buttons down here where you can insert different types of potentials. This was mainly focused on creating it so that as an electrical designer, engineer, you could draft all of your designs as quickly and efficiently as possible. Okay. So from here, we have a 2D layout, which essentially will show you and allow you to do placement of parts in 1-to-1, and then you can scale that however you need it. It comes with a pick list, so you'll be able to place them, and then it eliminates it from the pick list. Now, the main focus that we generally have now is our 3D panel. So 3D panel can be offered as a standalone or an add-on version. The add-on version works seamlessly with C Electrical, meaning that I click on 3D panel and it opens up and my project is already synced with it, ready to go. We also have standalone because some customers want, like Brian said originally, to be able to take AutoCAD electrical drawings, export that data, and then use 3D. You can do that with standalone. You can import all the data, it'll populate the project, and then even the wiring will work. So it'll automatically export the wires, it'll do the cable routes, it'll do the component placement, everything. So in here, because I'm automatically synced, I can select a function, location, or product and bring in all of those items. And as long as I have the 3D part linked with my database, I can populate those in. So if I click the check mark, I then have that part on my cursor ready to place. Now to start, we go to our symbols. we'll grab an enclosure and we'll populate that into our project. Now, each of these is smart. So I can bring this door away. I can move my mounting plate around, and then I can just bring it back in and have it snap in place. Like that. Okay. And so with this, I can also hide it and show the one that I want to look at and work on. And then I set a mounting or a working plane, and then I can start building. So I'll go to my cabinet, and we provide you standard DIN rails that you can grab. We also provide standard channels. So if I grab one of these, let's grab a 40 by 50, I can start building. Now these are dynamically modifiable, so I can bring them in. I could also specify a distance. So if I come in and place that, come down here, I could say, okay, I want this one to be 1230, and it'll place it. And the same thing goes here. So with all of these, I can just right click and I can place each of the parts in sequence. I can also offset a specific distance. So if I wanted to offset 180 millimeters up, I could do that. So you have exact placement. You also have the automatic grid snapping. With the DIN rail, I'll then come in here, populate these. And so now that I place some parts, I can start building actually my cabinet. So I'm going to grab a VFD and populate that into here. I'll grab this VFD. Oh, that's a big one. So I know that I can't put that one on this panel. Okay. So I'll just place this one for now. And for this, I can check collision. So I can already see that I'm going to collide with 3 different ducts because of the mounting space that's required for this. So in here, I can select this part, show mounting box, and actually see what's the problem. Okay. Now, if I want to fix it, I can move these up and move this out. I can arrange it so that I just need a 50 millimeter offset because I know that's what's required, and then check collision again. And I have this collision because I have the DIN rails interacting with it. So I didn't set these up right. Now, all that means is when I select it, I just go to dynamic scale and I can bring it to snap into place with it. So come in there and there we go. Now, because I've now placed all of these parts, so I have my DIN rail, I have my cable tray, and I have a VFD, I can actually show drill holes and you can see where the drill holes are going to be. I could select it and I could export it directly into a mod center with the coding, with the color coding that's required for the layer item, as well as threaded holes as specified for the mod center. We also do this for Ratal. So Perforex machines will do manual drill hole charts showing where they are, XY location, the tag numbers, and what you're doing for the size. So we have metric cuts and we have just drill throughs. Those are exportable to DXF, DWG, and in basically any year. So if you need to legacy export it, you can. We also do drill holes for XML and AutoCAD direct exports. So now that I've built this, I can grab on my DIN rail. I can grab and place specific items, and they'll build out from the left because that's my alignment right now. I could also select all of these parts and click insert in one go. And so they'll insert all of them. Now I have a circuit breaker that I'm going to need to place, which is a little bit too big for all of these. So I'll come down here and get rid of these. Get rid of this one and then place these. Now, because I've selected these and they're just not checked, I just click insert and it just keeps the next one on my cursor. And so those were the 2 that weren't placed. Now, going back up here, we have our PLC. So I'll select my DIN rail. I'll insert my backplane, and that comes populated. Now with the rest of the cards, I'll select those, click insert, and then I have a block plane and snap points to place them. So I have slot 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so I can just place them quickly, and I keep track because I know now I'm on the network card. I can just know that I need to put it there. If these were in the opposite order, I could just place them correctly, so I could switch those around. With this DIN rail, I'll insert my terminal blocks. So select that. Come down here to that, click insert, and all my terminal blocks are inserted. So from here, with all of my parts installed and my wiring schematic completed, I can go to wires. I can right click here and route all wires. And that populates the wires from my schematic into this project. It'll show you the color. It'll show you the size. It'll show you how it's getting connected. If the connections are the wrong way, so these were created going up rather than down, that's a quick change when you actually have the part in our block editor. Okay. So from here, I'll right click on my wires now and export wires for machining. Now this export can be imported into any wire machine. It's a CSV. It has all of the information you need. And then in the machine that you would select the columns that have the information relevant, and it would automatically create those wires. So this will do ends fittings. It will do how you want to label them, how far away the label is going to be from the ends, pull length, strip lengths. Do you want to put ferrules on 14 gauge spring connections? All of that's part of this. So in part of each of these components, I have all of this information. I have connections. I have the product information. And in the connections, I have connector types. I have how you want to mark it. So coming into this device, this will give all of the information you need to actually create the wire machining list. And it'll generate all of that information directly from here. Now, I've routed all my cables, so I want to check if I'm overloading anywhere. So we have a button here that will check overloaded channels. So if I select one, I also have info, and I can see how filled each of these channels is. So this one is only about maybe 30% filled. And so as I bring this across, it'll actually show me which wires are going through that section that I'm interested in. Okay? And so I can select that. I can say, okay, number 23, and then I can go find that in our wires. Okay. So there's 23, and I can check that. Now, if I know that I need to move one, I can select one, right click, wires, change route path. And I can have a selection of paths to take to bring this wire to that. Once I select it, I'll click select path, and it'll move that to the new wire route. All of this information can then get compiled and brought back into C Electrical. So your length of wire is going to be accurate for each of the equipment types. So you'll know how much wire you need for this project. And when you have this all set up, I can then bring in a step file. So if I bring in a conveyor, have to show my cabinet first. So if I have a conveyor and I have a step file coming from SolidWorks, Inventor, Creo, whoever it is, we take STP, we take IGES, STL, but now I can place that conveyor with this, right? And then on my, in here, I can grab my motor and place that as well. I have already built this with some snaps so that the motors snap into place in the correct place. So I can say, yep, those two. And then I'll just define a route path. So I'll select part of this. So I will turn on some of the end connection snaps. And bring it over. Oh, that's too far. And then from here, I can then route around this. So I will say define route path again, select that, come over. I'm going to attach it to my cable tray. Normally, obviously, you would have some type of cable gland or packing assembly that you can go into. Now, I'm going to check to make sure that these are all connected, and they are not. So I just need to quickly fix that. Give me 2 seconds. All right, so with that selected, I can say, okay, that's all connected. I missed that one. Sorry about this, guys. Selected the wrong point there. I'm not sure what's going on here. I think yeah, just having an issue. So what will happen though is once you attach these, one last attempt with this. Be able, okay. So what should happen is I would be able to, I'm sorry that I'm not able to show you right now. I'm trying to do this on a laptop that is not meant for any type of CAD. So with this, we would come into our windows, our cables, and then we'd be able to route our cables. So routing all cables would then wire it out to these other devices through our cable channels. So you don't have to have SolidWorks try to do it. You don't have to have Inventor try to do routing. This will do it for you, and you'll have all that information with your electrical package. We've seen people do entire plants in here. So they calculated every single cable that's going through the entire plant, all the lengths, the sizes, checking the overloads for all of the channels and the conduit. Very efficient, very interesting to see, and it's very useful for everyone who's doing this type of design work. Now, one of the improvements that's coming is we have a documentation designer, and this is soon going to have the ability to automatically create dimension drawings of your panel, of placement of your components within the panel, as well as do individual detailed drawings of each DIN rail or each section of it. And that's all going to be customizable in the future. And so instead of having to create a view and dimension it yourself, it'll just automatically create all of that for you. Right now, we have the ability to come in, make a view. So I'm going to define a region from selected. I'll select my entity, right click, and name it. Now in here, I have different ways of showing it. So if you want to show it as if it was a rendered image, you can. You could also do a wireframe or hidden lines. So that would be monochrome. So I'm going to select my shaded. I can then filter and show different things. So if I want to see wires, if I want to see the actual cabinet, I can turn that on or off. And then I can also set up how my devices are labeled and how it's exported. So I've essentially labeled them. I've put a background on them so we can see it clearly. And then from here, before I go back into C Electrical, I'm actually going to export this to shop floor. So So now I have a shop floor drawing ready to go as well. Now closing this, I'm going to save it. I'm going to generate my views. And instead of having to take the time to do a 2D layout, hiding lines and cutting the lines and moving them back and forth, instead I can just create it in 3D, come back into my C Electrical 2D version, insert a 3D layout, and select the view that I want. Now with this, it's labeled all of the components. It's put all of the information attached to it. I can then move these around. So I can select them and actually move them. So select, move. So I can place them a little bit better. But one of the really nice things here is that once I update the 3D, this automatically updates. So if I make any changes to the components, they automatically update. If I take a circuit breaker and remove it and put a new one in, it's automatically updated. So everything stays synced. Okay. Now, from here, I'm ready to export. So I can go to export. I can do my AutoCAD DWG DXFs. I can do whatever that is. I can also do PDF. So our PDF is a smart PDF. And so I can say, I want to export all of this information and have off-page references still synced. I can have hyperlinks still synced. And so everything is still built into it when I export that. Now, there's a reason that we have that, obviously. It's very easy to use and it allows you to still do those cross-references. One of the best things that we do offer is a non-design license, essentially. So we have a free viewer of 3D as well as our 2D, which means that in 2D, you can actually come in here without a license, add redlining, and make notes. So you don't have to print it out. You don't need to add or print it out and add your red lines in Sharpie or marker or anything. You also have it in the same native form, so when the designer gets it back, he can just update the project. We do offer, with our scale version, a compare project feature, so you can actually compare where the redlining is from one project to another and see all of the changes that have happened. And we have the ability to add that for revision information. So this is my project that I just exported with my table of contents, all of these. If I click on the 500, it brings me to 500. If I click on BMX CPS, it'll bring me to the website for it. If you have PDF links and you want to link those for like a submittal package, if you have those in the same project folder and you click on the link for them, what will happen is that link will open up the PDF right next to it. So you don't have to search for it. You don't have to bring them in and then search for all of the cut sheets. It's just built into the database and it just works basically seamlessly. So from here, with all of this, we also offer shop floor. And so shop floor is our assembly fabrication. Oh, okay. And apparently there we go. Yep. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. Again, different computer than I was planning on using because of my network issues. But our shop floor allows you to create essentially a easier to use version of our 3D. And so you'd be able to check off your wires, your cables. It shows you where everything goes, so which route paths it takes. And it also shows you where everything is going to be placed. So it'll give you a checklist. It'll also give you the ability to, in the near future, to log into a browser. Right now it's web-based or Windows-based. But in the near future, it'll be web-based. So any phone, computer, tablet, you'll be able to log into it, you'll have generally two different user types. One of them will be process engineer to make sure that the process and how it looks is correct. And then the other one would be the assembler, essentially. And so the assembler gets all of the product information. They get the wire routes. They can see torque specs. They can also add revisions. So they can add voice notes, images. They'll be able to take images of the schematics and send that back to process engineer. So you have an ongoing list of all of the changes that have happened on the shop floor back to you as the engineer or the drafter to make those changes. So your as-built becomes much easier. Another feature that we have in here is something called Intelligent Drawing Legacy. Intelligent Drawing Legacy will take AutoCAD drawings, it'll take DXF, DWG drawings, import them, and pattern recognize them to make them smart in C Electrical. So in here, when you select this, you'd actually have all of this information from just a generic drawing. So it'll populate, it'll calculate, and pattern recognize anything that's shown on the page. So if you have the product code, like TR103, it'll pull that in. So it's exactly the same as what it was. If you have the equipment code, it'll automatically assign that as well. This is very useful for companies who are taking hundreds of drawings from the past and need them to be workable in their new software package. But they want to progress forward with how they're doing their work. So those are a lot of the features that we offer. Sorry about the technical issues that I've been having today with the network and having to switch computers. That is my fault, I think. But I hope this was very useful for you. And if you have questions, and in the Q&A, I will hop back into that and try to answer as many of them as I can.
Awesome, Andy. Thank you very much. And we'll check the Q&A in a second. In the chat, everyone in the chat, I put down a couple of different things. The link to the YouTube playlist. Go ahead and bookmark that. I put my connection in LinkedIn. If you can go ahead and reach out to me. I know some of you have already done it. Please do. And then also I put the survey link, and the survey link is, again, just a couple of quick questions. How do we do today? Anything that you'd like to see us present in the future? How can we make this better? And then if you'd like to be contacted, to put your name and number. If you could put the city and state, that would be appreciated. Sometimes we get this and we don't know where the person is located, and so we struggle to get the right person to give you a call. So let me just see here. Let me just take a quick view to see if let's see. Any other questions that weren't answered, Brian? I think all the questions were answered. Just scrolling through. I think all the questions were answered. So
Yeah, it should be.
yeah. So again, I want to thank our presenters, Brian and Andy. Andy did a great job, and I will tell you, we had technical issues before we started this webinar, and obviously during the webinar, and he must have been. I know he was sweating going through this thing. So I really appreciate you guys sticking with it and getting it on. It's almost like a show must go on type of thing. I want to thank you guys for all joining today. We're going to take off on the month of July, and we're going to start again in August. We'll do some more. We have a robust schedule for the end of the year, and a lot of new products that will be coming out at the end of this year and the beginning of next year to really fill the agenda. So anyway, again, thank you very much. Please fill out the form. It really helps us get better, and it really helps us understand what you guys want us to present. So thanks again. That concludes our webinar today, and have a great day.